Hi guys, welcome back. So today I've got another tutorial where we're going to be creating this mini map for our web page. You can see we have this smaller version of our website or web page down here, well to the left of the screen, and we have this viewer just which shows it basically just shows the user where you currently are on the page, okay? And it's all in scale relative to our main page here. So we can also resize our screen, and it'll always give the correct proportions and the aspect ratio of this viewer here. Okay, so I think it's a pretty cool effect. Yeah, let's just jump straight into it. Thanks, guys. Okay, guys, so to get started with this project, you can see I've just got the three usual files again. So we have an index.html file, a style.css, and an app.js file. I've actually just already just added the HTML just to save time for this video. So just to give you a quick overview, we have obviously the boilerplate code. And then in the header, I've just linked to some Google fonts here. So I've just basically copied the inter links here from Google Fonts. So I've just pasted this into our header section here, this piece of code. And then I'm also just linking to our style.css file as well here. So you can see we have a link tag linking to our style.css file. Coming out of the header into the body, so we have just one main element here which contains all the content. And then we have four different sections, okay? So the first section here, you'll see it has an inner div with a class of container, and that goes for all of our section elements. And then I've just got an arbitrary title in here, so we have like intro, about, projects, contact. And then I've just added a p tag with some lorem text. And then we have a breakpoint here, and I've just placed an image in the first section, okay? And then I've just copied this down just so we have some content to play around with for this mini map feature. Okay, and then at the bottom, as always, we've just got a script tag with a source attribute of app.js linking to our app.js file. Okay, so that's pretty much it for our HTML. So what we can do now is actually just go into the style.css. So let's do that now. Just move this over here, sorry. So if we go into our style.css, and I'm just going to actually open this in live server. Okay, so the first one I want to do here is just get the default margins and paddings removed. So to do that, we're just going to select or use the all selector using the star. And we just say margin 0, padding 0, and box sizing of border box. Okay, and you'll see that's just removed all of our margins and paddings. And I'm just going to apply that into font as well. So if you just copy the CSS rule here from Google Fonts and paste that in at the top. And now we should have that nice inter font applied. Okay, so that's looking good. So kind of underneath this, the next thing we want to do here is I'm just going to say I want to stop the overscroll behavior. Okay, so you can see when we scroll up to the top of the page, we get that kind of bounce effect. I want to remove that. So to do that, we'll select our HTML body elements. I'm just going to say overscroll behavior. I'm going to set that to none. Okay, so now you can see that behavior no longer occurs. Now, kind of underneath this, next one I want to do here is target all of our section elements. We're going to give these all a width of 100%. We're going to say a min height of 600 pixels. And you see what this does, it just gives us a bit of space just so you can see how this mini map does work. Okay, and then underneath this, I'm going to say display flex. So we use Flexbox to display our sections, and this will allow us to center the content basically. So to do that, we can just say justify content and then center. Okay, and then underneath this, I'm just going to say padding. I'll just give it a bit of padding here. So we'll just say 2 rem just to give it a bit of white space. Okay, you can see this text overflows a bit nice because this image is very big and it's causing this, so we'll adjust that soon. Underneath this, I'm next going to select the container. So you remember all of our section elements had this inner div of a class of container. So this will target all of those, and we're just going to say a width here of 60%. Okay, and then I'm also just going to say, we can say a max width here of 800 pixels. Okay, so this will basically just take up 60% of the screen, and it will be when we go to a large screen, it'll only take up 800 pixels wide, just so it's nice and centered to the screen, okay? I'm also just going to, while we're here, target that image element. I'll just say image. I'm going to give that a width of just 100%. Okay, and now you can see that will grow with our with the parent div. Okay, so that's all nice and centered now. Okay, so kind of underneath this, I'm next going to target my H1 elements. And what we want to do is we want our text to be dynamic with the screen size, okay? Just for the purposes of this tutorial. So to do that, we can say here H1, I'm just going to give this a font size, and we're going to use the CSS clamp function, okay? So what this does, it takes in 3 arguments. The first argument is the smallest we want our text to be. So obviously if we go to a small screen, our text will go smaller, and this will be like the limit. We're going to set it to the smallest size, so we'll just say 1 pixel for now. And then the actual size we want our text to be is, we want it to obviously to grow the screen, the viewport width. So I'm just going to say 3.2 viewport widths. Okay, so now you'll see, I won't work yet, we need to add that final argument. The largest we want our text to grow to is 28 pixels. That should be pixels, like so. Okay, so now if you look at our H1 element here, you'll see that it does grow with the viewport. Okay, and it will only reach 28 pixels before it stops growing anymore. So that's what that clamp function is doing. It's limiting the amount it can, the largest size it can go to. Okay, so obviously we want to do the same thing with our p tags as well. So I just select p here, and I'm just going to drop that down by 1 viewport to 2.2 viewport widths, and then we'll just set the largest size here to 20 pixels. Okay, so now you'll see when we, it all grows proportionate to the screen, the viewport width, our text, okay? So the next thing I want to do here is, we're going to just apply our Minimap CSS settings yet. We didn't include this in the HTML because we're going to be adding the Minimap with JavaScript. So if I just type that in here, Minimap, so this is our Minimap CSS. The first one we're going to have is a Minimap container. So we say Minimap _container. And that's going to be fixed to the screen, okay? So we'll say position fixed here, and then we're going to say, we want it about 10 pixels from the top of the screen, and then we'll also say left 10 pixels from the top of, from the left of the screen as well, okay? So it'd be like somewhere around here, like 10 pixels. Okay, and then what we're going to say after that is we want to give this, we'll just give it a min width of 20 pixels, and then we'll also say here z index of 100 for now, just to bring it in front of all other content on the screen. Okay, so the next thing we want to do here is there's a Minimap size div we're going to have. This is just going to obviously give the Minimap its size with proportionate to the aspect ratio of our screen and our web page size. So here we're going to position this relative to the parent, which is going to be the container. And then we're also just going to say z index, give it a z index of 5, and we're going to say border. I'm going to give this a border of 2 pixels solid white, and this should be the background color of your web page. So just apply it, and this will basically just remove like an outline that an iframe element adds to the screen. This will just tidy it up a bit, so that's why we're applying that border there. Okay, and then we're also going to have a Minimap viewer, so say Minimap _viewer, like so, and here we're just going to give this a width of 100%. Again, the parent of this viewer will be the Minimap container, so we're just filling this viewer relative to the Minimap container width, and then we're just going to say here position absolute. We're going to say top 0, left 0. Transform origin next, I guess that to 0, 0, so that means when we want to translate this element, it will be translated from the top left of the element. So if this was the element here, this image, it would be translated from here. That's what that 0, 0 coordinate is doing. The next thing we want to do here is just give this another z index of 100 again, and I'm just going to say here, I'm going to give this a border, because this viewer section is basically just going to be, it's going to show our viewport in the Minimap, so where we currently are on the web page. So I'm just going to say it's the 1 pixel solid. We'll do a black color, but I just want to make it a bit transparent, so we'll just come up here in VS Code and just drag that down, make it slightly transparent. Okay, so next thing after here, the final thing we want to do here is just say .minimap _content. This is going to be the iframe that we apply, and that should be in lowercase as well. So Minimap content, like so. And here we're just going to say position relative, and we're going to say margin. I'll give this, sorry, not a margin, no, position relative, and then we want, actually no, let's do this absolute actually, we'll change it to absolute, sorry guys, and then we'll just say top 0, left 0, we'll give this a width of 100% of the parent, which is obviously going to be this container again, and we're going to give this a height of 100% as well. Okay, and then I just want to give this a z index of -1 just to bring it behind all the other elements. And then again, we're going to set the transform origin here as well. Transform origin to 0, 0. And then also it's going to give us another border of 1 pixel solid white. And I think that's pretty much it for our CSS. So let's move on to the JavaScript now, where we're going to create this minimap. Okay, so to do that first, the first thing we want to do here, we just zoom in. We're just going to create our minimap element, okay, or our element. So we just say let minimap equal document dot create element. Create element like so, and we're going to create a div element here, okay, and then underneath this, we're going to say let minimap size. Again, we're going to use a div, so I'll just copy this over, paste that, so it's another div, and then we're also going to create the viewer, so we say let viewer equal, again, document.create element div, and then finally the minimap content, we're going to say let minimap content, and we're going to use an iframe for this. We just say document.create element, and we're going to say iframe here like so. Okay, and then we're going to be we're going to use a scale here. So just say let scale equal, and we can say 10% for now. Okay, this is just a base scale we're going to use for our minimap. Just spell that right there. And then we're going to just have a real scale variable as well, which we'll apply later. You'll see why we use that. Real scale. Okay. And now coming underneath this, we're just going to add some class names next, just to so the CSS is applied. Remember we use these class names here in our minimap section, so we're going to apply these now. So we can say here minimap dot class name, and that's going to equal, and we just say, I think we had minimap container, didn't we? Yeah, minimap container. So just copy this over. We can paste that in there, and then we can say minimap size. So minimap size dot class name equals, and here we'll just say minimap underscore size like so, and then we can have the viewer next, and the class name for this will be minimap underscore viewer like so. Okay, and then what else we want to do? So minimap content dot class name equals minimap underscore content like so. Okay, so next we want to do we want to just append everything next. Okay, so what we can say here is just minimap dot append, and this will allow us to append multiple elements here. So we're going to just append the minimap size, the viewer, and of course the minimap content as well. And then finally, we're just going to say document.body.append child, and here we're just going to append the actual minimap. Okay, so now you can see it has obviously created the elements here, and we can see it has appeared, but now we just need to add the contents to this minimap, and then we also need to get the dimensions of our web page and viewport, just so the minimap is reflected proportionately to the actual content of the web page. Okay, so the first we need to do is get our actual HTML from this actual main web page here. So to do that, we just want to say let HTML equal document element, that will get the actual whole page, and then we can say outer HTML. Okay, so if we now console.log HTML. Come to our console in the browser, and you can see that we do get all the HTML rendered. Now, obviously, with our Minimap, we're not going to want to apply the scripts, so this JavaScript here, because otherwise it will just keep creating like loads of Minimaps. Okay, so what we want to do here is just remove this script. Now, to do that, we can just we can say we can use this regex function, which I found. Okay, so I'm not an expert on regex, but basically, you know, on Stack Overflow, I just typed in how to remove all scripts from HTML with regular expressions. Okay, and then found this answer here, so we can see this is the script used to like basically identify any kind of scripts in your web page or the HTML. So we can use this. Okay, so what we're going to say here is we're going to use the replace function because it returns a string. And then we're going to just copy this regex over. So this will target all of our script tags, okay? So we can paste that in there. And then the second argument is what we want to replace it with. And obviously we just want to remove it, so we can replace it with just nothing. So we have this like blank text string here. Okay, so now when I console.log the HTML, we should have that script tag removed. So if we come here, and you can see, we no longer have the script at the bottom of the page. Okay, so that's been removed. So that's what this is doing. So we're basically getting the HTML out of HTML, which is a string, and we're replacing the script tag with nothing. Okay, so that's what's happening there. Next we want to do here is actually just get our iframe document, so we can then write this HTML to our iframe. Okay, so to do that, we're just going to say let iframe doc equal minimap content. So that is the iframe we created up here, minimap content, and we're just going to say dot content window here. Okay, and then we want to just select the document. Okay, that should be document, and now we have that. We can just say we have some functions we can do here. So we can just say iframe dot open. This will basically open our iframe so we can write content to it, and then we can say iframe doc dot write, and we can write that HTML. Okay, and then we can close it. So we say iframe doc.close. Okay, cool. So that should be written now. Our iframe should contain the HTML. The next thing we want to do here is we just want to actually get the dimensions now, so we can apply the screen dimensions to our iframe. Okay, because obviously it's still looking a bit more, you can't really see it. So to do that, we're going to create a function. It's going to be called get dimensions, like so, if I can spell it right. And here, the first thing we need to do is get the body width. Okay, so we're going to say let body width equal document dot body dot client width, like so, and that will get the width of the body in pixels. Next we want to do is get the body ratio. So to do that, we say let body ratio, sorry, and that's going to equal document dot body dot client height. And we're going to divide this by that body width. Okay, so that will just give us the aspect ratio of our body in the document. And then next thing we want to do here is we're going to get the window ratio as well. So we'll say let win ratio, and this will be used basically just to calculate the aspect ratio of our viewer in proportionate to the actual minimap size. Okay, so we say let win ratio equal window dot inner height divided by window dot inner width, and that will get the aspect ratio of our window. And then we're going to say here, we can actually just style this. I'll just say minimap dot style dot width equals, we'll just make it 15% of our page. Okay, so we just say 15%. Okay, and if obviously we haven't not running this yet, so if I just do get dimensions now, you can see that minimap width now is adjusted to 15% of the viewport size. Okay, so the next thing we want to do here is just say we're going to use that rescale next. Okay, so we can set that rescale variable, and that's going to equal the minimap, and we're going to get the client width. So that's the width of this this minimap element in pixels. So that will be like 15% of the viewport in pixels, and then we're just going to say divided by the body width. Okay, and then what we're going to do with this, we're just going to say, also come under here, we're going to get the size element next. So this is the div we created to just basically, make the minimap the correct size. Okay, so we're just going to say minimap size, and then we're just going to say dot style dot padding top we're going to use. Okay, we need to use padding because obviously there's no height applied to the minimap yet. So that's why we're using this padding, just to adjust the height of our minimap element. So we're just going to say dot padding top, and that's going to equal, and here we're going to see backticks, and we're just going to say here template literal, and we're just going to say body ratio here. So we're going to use that body ratio, and we're just going to times that by 100%. Okay, so now you can see we've got our iframe that is in proportionate size to our actual web page here. Obviously it's not looking right at the moment because we still need to scale our web page. So to do that, we're going to come under here as well, and then we're just going to basically just get our viewer. Okay, so the viewer, and here we're just going to say dot style dot padding top again, and that's going to equal, and here we're just going to use the window ratio this time. Okay, so we'll say template literal again, we just say window win ratio again times by 100%, and there you go, that's our window, our viewport there, our window viewer. Okay, so obviously it's still not looking quite right, we still need to adjust a few scaling elements. So next what we want to do is just obviously scale the content. So we'll just select the content here, we can say dot style dot transform, and that's going to equal, and we're going to use the scale function now. Okay, and that is going to again be a template literal here, and we're just going to use the real scale that we created up here. So we'll say real scale. Okay, now that's obviously looking really small, so what we need to do here after this is just need to adjust the width and the height. Okay, so what we're going to say here is minimap content dot style dot width, and that is going to be the equal to a template literal again, and here we're just going to say 100 divided by that real scale, and then we're just going to add a percentage after. Okay, so we just do percent. Okay, so you can see that's made it the correct width. Now I just need to do the same thing with the height. Okay, so with the height we can just say here, and that will just be again 100% divided by the real scale, and there you go. So that's looking good. You can see it's kind of proportional. Now all we need to do is obviously move this viewer in line with our scroll. Okay, so to do that we're going to create another function down here. So we're just going to say function track scroll, and then here we're just going to say we're going to target that viewer, and then we're just going to say style dot transform, and that's going to equal, we're going to use the translate wire function here, and then what we're going to say here is we want the window.page wire offset. Okay, so we'll say window, actually no, we want dot scroll wire, sorry, scroll wire. So that's the amount of pixels we've scrolled on the y-axis of the page, and then we're just going to times it by that real scale. Okay, and then we can just say pixels. And then obviously what we need to do is we're going to just add some event listeners down the bottom here. Okay, so I'm going to say window dot add event listener. We want to listen out for a scroll. Okay, and then what that's going to do is obviously that needs to be in quotes as well, and then we're just going to say here track scroll. Okay, so now if we scroll you can see we're now getting that nice minimap functionality working. Okay, and it's all in scale. One thing we do need to do as well is we need to just say window dot add event listener, and I'm just going to listen out for a resize as well, and then we can just say gets dimensions. Okay, that should be a comma. So that means whenever we resize our window, it's always basically in proportionate to our it takes the correct proportions and applies them to the minimap. Okay, As you can see there, no matter how we rescale our window, it's always the correct proportions applied. Okay, so that's looking cool. And I think that's pretty much it, guys. That's how you create a minimap with just pure vanilla JavaScript. Obviously, there's a bit of maths involved with this, but I think it's a really cool effect. I've seen this on a modern website recently, and I really liked it, so I thought I'd try and recreate it. But I hope you enjoy it, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.